Hello, dear patrons and YouTube listeners. This is another live streamed Q&A from my hometown in Madrid, my little bit messy living room. I just returned home last night after having done quite bizarre repertoire. Like 2 weeks ago I played the Chin Concerto, then shortly after a recital with Reger Sonata and Brahms Clarinet Trio. Those recordings you can even find on Patreon. And right after I did the Beethoven Triple Concerto in Stuttgart with my good friend Stephen Osborne and a new friend Vadim Glutzmann, really wonderful violinist, and Dan Ettinger, who happens to be in Madrid now to conduct the orchestra of my wife. And right after I went to Munich to play Rococo night before last night, with a young orchestra, like students and even younger. I think the youngest one was 15, and an 18-year-old conductor. I'll get some video footage of that at some point, so I'll post that on Patreon. I have some questions prepared, and I didn't prepare them. Some patrons and other people sent them in, and I start with the, well, it's more almost like an essay the young cellist Soraya Ansari wrote. Let's see if that's big enough to read. Yeah. Her question is, can or must a musician be convinced of himself or herself? Actually, every human being is the only one in the whole universe. I mean, she wrote this very interesting long email to me, which I will read now. It was in German, now it's translated. Actually, every human being is the only one in the whole universe who cannot experience himself from the outside, let alone perceive himself as another human being. And the real reason why you play in front of other people should be to reach them with the music. With the applause topic, I had talked about how dangerous and tempting it is to play for the applause instead of trying to be true to the music. So she writes, with the applause topic, you also wrote that you shouldn't really take the reactions of the audience seriously. That's why you can't rely on it. Yes, because even after the worst performances, people can scream their heads off just because the piece ends loud and great, and maybe the performer made some choreographic antics. But that doesn't mean that it was really a wonderful performance. I mean, for me, I have played the Dvorak Concerto many times, and even if it doesn't work so well, people love it because it ends loud and it's very effective piece, as much as it's beautiful, but it also works very well. In any case, it's always a mystery to me how musicians and artists in general can be convinced of themselves. I would love to ask them where they get that from. Although I have the feeling that some of them just cover up their insecurities with self-confidence. Touché. Recordings are actually against music, at least in my opinion. Space and time are inseparable from music. I agree, that's why I don't actually listen to recorded music much anymore at all. I used to consume a lot when I was a kid, but now I just love to go to concerts. Somehow the immediacy of a concert is so much more moving than watching even on YouTube. I can absolutely live without music on YouTube. At some point, you casually mentioned that you can only listen to or like your own recordings after a few months. Can I ask why? Yes, you can, and actually you give the perfect answer right after. I presume because you have then already halfway forgotten what you imagined back, and some of it perhaps didn't work out as well as you wanted it to, which an outsider doesn't even notice. And you can perhaps surprise yourself almost if you hear someone else. So that's a very good point. I indeed don't like to listen to recorded material right after I recorded it because, yeah, it's too close. And I still, as you say, I still remember what I wanted, and then it might not have come out as I wanted it. And then a few months later I completely forgot the feeling of the concert. And indeed, sometimes I'm surprised of things I've come up with and things which worked or didn't work. well, I finish the letter and then I answer. That in capitalism it's better not to say what you think you can't do, and that it also makes sense not to draw people's attention to something negative, because that's exactly what they're focused on, and most of them don't have an opinion of their own anyway. I have now understood, says Soraya. So yes, we should not tell people our weaknesses before we perform. I have done that sometimes when I do a concert and I talk to people during the concert and I tell them about something challenging or something difficult in the piece. Big no, because that makes you insecure and that makes the people focus more on possible disasters. So I try to not mention that anymore. But I find it very difficult that a lot of people, of all educated, expect that you are convinced of yourself and that you think your work is great. I think that is actually something more true in Germany. In the UK, for example, I feel that a certain understatement is appreciated, but in Germany you definitely should show that you are quite happy with yourself. Self-doubt is not really often understood, or self-criticism. People then think, oh yeah, so you're not that great. Don't you have to forget yourself in a certain way in order for music to be able to come about at all? Music is never in your hands, is it? Isn't it enough if you are convinced of the matter at the moment you do something and make the greatest possible effort for it? Doesn't self-assurance in some way presuppose a refusal to advance? And that's exactly what I was thinking in the last few months. Because I heard a very good jazz musician an older gentleman talk about how difficult he thinks it is for young people nowadays to get to the top and be great. Because to be a wonderful artist, you have to put yourself under scrutiny all the time. You have to self-doubt, you have to be very tough on yourself and very critical to become better. If you love what you're doing, then you don't really can advance. So that's what Soraya says, that if we are so happy with ourselves, how can one move forward as a musician or as an artist? But nowadays, as we all know, it's very important to present ourselves. We have to present ourselves in the social media, in Instagram, Facebook, best would be even on TikTok, I guess. And you have to be confident there. If you admit that you're having problems, then that doesn't work. You have to pound your chest and show what a great guy you are, or girl. And that contradicts each other. So people coming to the top nowadays, they have to somehow find a fine balance between being hard on themselves and being very self-confident. Let's see, now I forgot the button. Okay, now I have to move this up. Isn't it paradoxical that you have to be totally self-critical and constantly question yourself while practicing, but you should be confident in yourself on the outside, as I just said? Are most artists, musicians, instrumentalists really, or do they just pretend because they feel they have to keep up with those who use music solely for staging themselves? But if you're no longer honest in life, then at some point you can no longer play honestly and then can't touch anyone. Well, unfortunately, I have committed the mistake to sometimes, or once I listened to the comments, or I watched the comments underneath a video of a pop singer. Really, really horrible pop singer, I forgot the name. It's incredibly pretentious and no context, neither the words nor the singing nor the lyrics, other words, or the music. It was really dumb and dull. And the comments underneath, people were so deeply touched. I mean, the guy was very good looking and he suffered while singing, but if you just listened, there was really absolutely nothing. And the comments were as if Jesus had come back to earth and saved his life or her life. So you can still touch people with a lot of empty I think. But that's not what we are going for. We don't want to touch the people who are easy to be touched. We try to, every musician, I guess, tries to reach people on the lower level. And there, it's a really paradox thing to try to be true to yourself. And even while performing, well, my advice to you, Soraya, and to all the other musicians, including myself, is that we have to be very hard on ourselves in practice. And on stage, we have to learn how to forget and trust our own capabilities, that what we worked so hard on will somehow come out. And then try to enjoy as much as you can. And if there is a problem and if there is a mistake, really try to forget it. If you hang on to these mistakes, that will kill the performance. But if you move forward and still enjoy the music, I mean, the music is not destroyed just because you had a couple of squeaks or some out of tune notes or missed notes or even memory slips. And I posted, as you might know, this horrible memory slip of mine when I played the Kodai solo sonata in Verbier last year. And I only found out later, but Misha Maisky was sitting in the first row and other musicians I respected were there as well. So yes, I was nervous and tense, not so much because of the musicians, but of the students. I knew there were some students I had taught, and that actually made me very nervous. Anyway, I had the memory slip of my life without being that nervous, actually. It wasn't nerves, it was just a little brain fart, and I couldn't get over it. And I tried 3 times. I took 3 turns until I managed to get around it. I think there was the... in the Kodai, sorry, my cello is not tuned in the right way. And now I could play it even without scodatura, but there I just couldn't see where I was going, and I failed miserably. Why did I say that now? Yeah, but I carried on, and that's why I posted it, not to show what an idiot I am, but that this is not the end of the world. You can still move forward and play a good recital, and people liked it, and when I listened to it, yes, it's good. I mean, I got criticized on some YouTube comments that the sound was a bit harsh and that I used to have a less harsh sound, and I responded to the comments saying that I'm very sorry, but the one he was referring to was professional recording, and the one in Verbier, I just put my little H4n Pro right in front of me, so that is less forgiving than a 5,000 to 10,000 euro microphone, and this H4n Pro is, I think, 300 euros. So I'm very sorry, I'm not a professional recording guy. So that was, I don't know if, well, I should have maybe answered more of her questions in between, but can or must a musician be convinced of himself? Yes, somewhere we have to be convinced when we go on stage that we have something to offer them. And if you're not, then I can only repeat the wonderful little anecdote of Gregor Piatigorsky, who I think it was at the Berlin Philharmonic Hall, had a concert with Toscanini, the great Italian maestro, and they shared the dressing room. I think it's in his book, My Cello and Me. That's the German title, I don't know what the English title is. It's an autobiography full of the anecdotes I can strongly recommend. Anyway, right before the concert, Toscanini was going back and forth and saying, oh, we are worth nothing, we are worth nothing, we are worth nothing. And Piatigorsky got more and more depressed and nervous, and right before going on stage, Toscanini turned to Piatigorsky and said, we are worth nothing, but caro, the others are worth even less. Which is a horrible thing to say, but yes, why not? Feel that even if you don't have to say so much, it will be enough for that. It has to be enough. And we have to believe that somehow what we have to say is important enough and more important than what the others have to say. And if we don't believe that, then it's hard, I guess. I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to think you're the greatest and you know the truth, but you need to know that you have something personal to say with whatever you're doing. And if you don't, then try to find it. But I think the fear of most people, and that's normal, happens to me also, is that we just don't perform technically well enough. So this we have to take care in practice. We have to be technically well prepared, but then musically we have to allow ourselves to go into a journey and try to express whatever we carry inside. So that's enough for this long first question. Now I see if there's something. Yihun Kim is asking what cello I'm using currently. Well, this cello was given to me by somebody in Berlin. He said I should try it, and I tried it, and actually I compared it to my Gofrilla, and in my father's living room, to whom I played it, he didn't know which cello was which, so he said that this was much better. And I took it now to all these concerts. I played the Chin on it, triple concerto and Rococo variations. And it's a Galliano, a Gennaro Galliano. Nice cello. I'm not sure, I mean, there might be a chance that some investor might want to buy a cello for me to play on, and my Gofrilla is wonderful, but it's very hard to play, and I'm not getting younger. And now the triple concerto, it was so lovely to perform it on this cello. It was so much easier. I do these fingerings, and on my cello this is so hard, this 1, 2, 3. I never liked anything else but this fingering. I always use that fingering since I play this piece. Or oh, that was bad. So to try to connect as much as possible. That was always my way of playing. And I kept doing that on my Gofrilla, which is just about 2 centimeters longer in measurements than this. And longer than my old cello. So on my old cello I could do all these artistic fingerings, and on the Gofrilla I kept on doing them, but they became much more dangerous. So I thought, why not try get a cello which is maybe a bit easier to play. So this has a better A string than my Gofrilla. I think the Gofrilla is more well-rounded. It has better bass and also better D string, and I haven't done anything with the setup, so maybe I should experiment a little. But I think I'll try to take to the next level to see if maybe one can improve it even more. So that's the question answered by Yihun. It's the Gennaro Galliano, and there's no other question yet. Hi Yasmin, from many greetings to Geneva. Sorry that I missed you. I was in Lausanne the other day. I'm always very bad to contact people whom I know in other cities. Michael Heupel asked me on Instagram, I think, how to practice the alternating pizzicato in the Britten Sonata. That's a good question. I should have tried it before doing it. Yeah, that's, let's see, I should get rid of this here. Did I do this? Actually, that's helpful to have the thumb maybe here, and so this hand is quite stable, and so that's not very good. So what I do would be practice rhythms. The other way around. And then even more efficient would be this rhythm. So ram pa 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 pam pa 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 pam. And the other way around. I just tried that for the first time in my life, to have the thumb underneath the fingerboard, but maybe it's quite tiring. So maybe rest the arm here and then... No, I start with right hand, I think. Or actually I could... I did post that on Patreon. Yeah, there's a recording of the Britten Sonata with me, Stephen Osborne, in a super dry hall. But yeah, that's the only way how to practice that, I think. Rhythms and maybe with metronome, and if this arm rests, I think it's quite good. So you can either go underneath here or at least have it. If they're both in the air, I think it's harder. So if one is resting, then that's how I would do it. Grace is asking, do you think it's better to play with a higher or lower string height on the cello? Depends on the cello and depends on your left hand. If you are not in the best of shape playing wise, then definitely lower, because it's tiring if it's high. For trying to produce bigger sound, it should be too low, because then you cannot really go into the string as easily. Best is a perfect string height, which is not always easy. I prefer rather high than low. In the last few months my Gofrilla was very low, so that might be also a point why it didn't sound as good as I liked it to sound. This one's also rather on the low side. I find it more difficult to control actually when it's too low. Somehow I like to have a bit of resistance, and yeah, but if it's too high, it gets very tiring. Like I think I even I put that online on Patreon, my second Shostakovich cello concerto in Mallorca. That was last year, I think. May last year. And the neck was broken of the Gofrilla, which I didn't know. So it slowly went like this, and the string height was incredible. So the... Oh, that would have been right on my on my cello, but not on this one. So these tenths were almost impossible to play, because it was so high and playing soft and having to push down like crazy. So too high is worse. No, I don't know. No, too low is the worst, because then you cannot produce sound, but next thing would be too high is also not good. Better somewhere in the middle. Actually, that brings me to another question by somebody who sent me something. Jose Asensio Alfonso. He's asking, how do you find the correct bow hair tension? And when you find it, how could you notice if you're pressing the bow too much? My goal is to find the correct balance between sound quality and projection. Well, that's definitely all our goal, I guess. Although I think, well, I never really think of projection. I think of, well, maybe that is projection. No, I rather think of the quality of the sound, not so much. And sound quality for me. That for me is not a good sound quality. That for me is it's too wishy-washy. For me, this sound, I mean, obviously there are moments where you can do that, but this here is a special color for special moments. And actually I saw somebody play for me the other day Beethoven Sonata, and this person played everything sul tasto, and that just doesn't match with the piano. So the sound And again, it's not projection, it's about matching the sound with what's going on around. So if we have a pianist playing while the piano is playing that, we play, so they're going in thirds, no? Oh, that's Wolf, sorry. This line we cannot play because the piano doesn't have that kind of sound. We need we need the quality there. Why am I saying that? Oh, I'm talking about the sound quality. So it depends what you mean with sound quality. For me, sound quality means a certain core in the sound. So now about the bow hair tension, that very much depends on the bow. But I don't like playing with too little tension. Because if we really, I mean, that's too much now actually. But if I play loud, I don't want to play on the stick. And if I play soft, it's fine. I can play soft with a, and it. What did I do the other day with? What was it? Yeah. Depends. I never thought much about the tension until I found a Kittelbow 22 years ago, and I played it, or no, I didn't find it, somebody told me about it in a shop, so I tried it and wasn't impressed. And then the owner of the bow called in and said, well, please tell the cellist to use a lot of tension. And I did that, and that changed dramatically. The cello sounded, the bow worked much better. This here is a Grenadam, which actually also works quite nicely when it's not too weak. And depends probably on the repertoire. If you play Dvorak, you probably want to play with a bit more tension than when you play a Bach suite. For the chords in the Bach, it might be actually easier to not have it too. Yeah, if it's not too parallel. But for Dvorak, I would almost go parallel, I think. And the pressing, if I notice to press the bow too much, well, I'm using the earplugs. And the earplugs actually tell me quite well if the pressure is too much. I think better than without the earplugs. And that has nothing to do with the tension of the bow, does it? If I press too much, we should be constantly monitoring whatever comes out of this box anyway, the sound. If we press too much, or if we are too much on the fingerboard, it's a fine line. I would move the line as close as as close to the edge as possible. We shouldn't play it safe, because playing it safe is it's playing it safe. Music is not, a performance should not be the safe place. There should be a certain element of, well, excitement, but I think as a cellist we cannot afford to take it easy, because we, especially I'm talking orchestra, playing with a concerto, but also in chamber music. If we have a bass line and we are too passive, then the whole balance of the group is out, because the bass line doesn't sound as brilliant as the upper line, but it is as important and sometimes more important. So we need to dare that sometimes it doesn't work. Like my Rococo variations, there's a Wolf on the F sharp, and in the piece was even on the G, I think. And I know this note completely cracked as I'm taking care of the dog. Carlo, you can leave it there. It's fine.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a dog since 2 months and
Sorry.
and the dog loves to look out of the window. Do your presentation now, Carlo.
Yes.
Yeah. Where was I? Oh yeah. So I could have played. I knew that this was a dangerous note, so I could have gone away from the bridge and this way reduce the risk of the note breaking. But I opted for going for more to keep the quality, because at the same time, as you might know, the oboe is playing a dialogue with us. So if I go all sultasto-y, the duet is gone and my line is lost. And I lost in this case because this note didn't sound nice. But I don't regret. I would do it again, maybe practice it more. So that was this. There's a question of Vincente. Hi Alban, do you have any suggestions? Why can I see that now? Oh yeah. Do you have any suggestions to work on sound clarity in Haydn C major concerto third movement? Thanks for sharing your time and expertise. Sound clarity, as I always say, play close to the bridge. If you're on the fingerboard, maybe you won't have accidents. I have, as I just said, I have accidents playing not playing closer to the bridge, but that gives you clarity. What am I doing? Actually, all the... So even if you go softer here, dare to go to the bridge. Sorry, I haven't played it in 4 months. Should practice it. And I didn't touch the cello today. And I'm getting older and I have so many excuses why I can play. Practice the whole thing close there. So that's the slow version. Especially if you go to the lower strings, you have to make up for the lower register. If you chicken out and going to the fingerboard, you lose. Or you're not audible anymore. Or especially what's that thing there? How does it go? And we're going then no, God, I cannot jump in it now. I would have to play the whole thing. Now when it gets all exciting there, this whole thing. Shoot, I'm too stupid. I haven't. I'm not awake enough to jump into this place right away. Idiot. But there you have to really work hard. I've seen somebody play it one day and it was like, hey, it's supposed to be really loud. And then... God, why can't I do that? Oh, yeah, brain is fried, sorry. So just go for it and practice it slowly and practice it. On the string. So quasi legato and in tempo. Don't try to jump it. It's like that's enough. It doesn't have to. Don't need anything of this. Now this guy needs a password. Why do you need this?
Kann ich etwas gucken, während du...
Nee, du sollst dein Paper machen.
Welchen Paper?
Deine Präsentation.
Aber ich weiß nicht, wie man das macht.
Überleg dir.
Nein, ich kann nicht. Ich kann nichts damit tun.
Okay.
Ich weiß nicht mehr, wie man das tut. Danke.
Sorry. Okay, that's about the clarity in hide and C major. I come to... Oh. Let's see, I shouldn't miss that one here. Okay. Hi Martin. Do you use something in the tuning pegs to prevent accident of loosening during the concert? No. The tuning pegs. No. Does that happen? Well, yeah. If it happens, you stop, I guess, or you put it back up. I don't know. No, I haven't. I don't know what one could do. I guess there shouldn't be too... Well, that's a completely different subject, but I discuss it at length in some video on Patreon. I sit like this. I don't sit like this, so I don't have the pegs touching me. The scroll is away from me, so there is no danger. I don't do it for the pegs, but I do it for sound and also, yeah, I like it better. Somebody told me about it, but it's too long of a story. I won't bore you with that now. But that's my cello technique. I don't have the cello between the legs, but my left knee is kind of behind the sound post or something like that. Hi Joseph. Do you have tips for 3 and 4 note Pitts chords in the upper positions? I'm playing a piece now that has them, they sound muffled on the G and C string. Well, Pitts generally I see often people pits like that, like going up, and it's a nice effective movement, but actually just pure physics, we need the string to ring like this, so we need keep that in mind when you do big chords. So you have to be as parallel as possible. But obviously up there it gets harder. But you still can hear it a bit, no? I think I've never pitched up that high. Ugh. Yeah. A lot of pressure. Put a lot of pressure on the lower strings. If you do. So now I'm pushing. If I don't push, then you only hear the upper strings. So you need to be as... and it's hard. That's a lot of practice. I mean, your fingers need to be strong enough to push down the string there. And then just go full in and rather think louder on the bass than on the top. So if you go, then you don't hear the lower register, but rather. So if you focus more on the lower string, there might be a chance. Good luck with that. Don't break your fingers doing it. There is another question here from Paul Dundurant. He says, he's a patron of mine, and he asked the following. I'm practicing Fauré elegy. Starting on measure 18 is super soft, piano with 3 Ps. I'm trying to better understand how to make it so soft and smooth. Would you be holding up your bow arms so the hairs barely touch? How do you get a smooth sound? Could you also talk about bow speed, bow travel distance and position between the bridge and the fingerboard? Well, the position between the fingerboard and the bridge I talk quite often. as close as you can go to the fingerboard. The young conductor I worked with 2 days ago, he suggested to the orchestra numerous times they should play sul tasto, and I said something, but then I held back. Sul tasto is not a good idea for most places. If you want people to play soft, use less bow speed. But if they go, well, maybe with the higher strings it's not so bad. But there was a long note. We played Mendelssohn's Scottish Symphony. He wrote on top of the long note sul tasto. And who was having the tune? The winds. And the winds never play much, woodwinds never play much softer than mezzo piano. If not softer than mezzo forte. And these were young people, so they played a good mezzo forte. And us with going sul tasto. No, we needed. So that gives the whole phrase a bottom line. That's the foundation. Okay, it's the fifth. It's not it's the dominant, but still, it needs to be there to hold up the winds and not going. And that goes now to your question. The bar 18 must be the triple piano in there. So that's not the softest I can play. Okay, we can do that even softer probably. E, high. But I would definitely not go closer to the fingerboard, as there is the piano playing as well. But never mind the piano. If we play this here, maybe that's nice for the microphone here. Even though I think after a while it sounds boring as well. It lacks. We need some core in the sound. We cannot all the time sing like that. Yeah, we can for a very special moment. I'm almost dead, but the guy's not dead, or the girl playing there. It's incredibly sad. I think it's about a funeral, isn't it? And obviously it's not in your face sad. It's really you're crying inside, but you're crying. You're not completely dried out. There is a pain you're carrying. And if this is going this kind of flautando, well, I'm not a big fan of this. But you can, now to answer your question, obviously there are things to do. You can go either more with more pressure and less speed. So hardly any bow. Or you choose a little faster speed but less pressure, and then maybe tilt the bow a little. You can see I don't know the cello well enough. That's the beauty about playing a string instrument. We have all those tools at our hands how to do different sounds. You just have to experiment. You can sit there for hours and see if you want to play with less little bow speed as possible, or with more bow speed, and then you go a little away from the bridge. So up to you how you want to deal with that. But my default bowing would be full hair, and if I play something super soft, I tilt the bow a little bit, and then you can, and yeah, maybe. If you like that, then do it. I mean, I wouldn't blame you. It's triple piano, and the pianist is not having a lot of stuff. Depends a bit on the hall. If it's a really lousy hall, a dead hall, you cannot play on the D string there. You need to go there or there. And here, this room is lively enough, so I adapt very quickly to what the hall needs. So you can see me play this here or there, but probably never here. Talk about bow speed, bow travel distance. Yes, I mean, as you might know, I love the frog, but something like that I wouldn't play at the frog. I would go probably in the middle. I wouldn't go here in the upper half. The upper half is something violinists love to do because it's quite close to their body. I mean, it's here. They have great control. Us, we are here. We have no control here, and to it's possible, obviously. But it's much harder. And more tiring because we need a little bit of tension and pressure there. So not upper half, rather in the middle and with as little bow as possible, because you have the fortissimo places where you want. So there you use the full bow. You use more pressure, you use more speed, and use the full bow, and then you have a probably bigger sound. And if you play really soft, you use 25% of the same bow, I guess. I think that's the last question I have noted. So let's see. Here's another one. Oh, I missed some. Okay, here. God, my contact lenses are strange. Hi, Vaughan. In Ravel Violin Cello Sonata, there are often incredibly fast pizzicati to arco changes. How would you practice these changes to get to the needed space of bow and back? I know exactly what you mean. Hello. No. How does it go? Shoot, I forgot. And then there's the other one at the beginning, no? Then no. Ah, yeah. How I practice it, I stay very close to the frog. This I find almost harder, actually. Is there anything else? Oh yeah, there's another one. How does it go in the last movement? Dun, 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 dun. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Well, as I said, play everything as close as you can here, so the distances are not far. Don't go. So nothing here, just very and very precise. Such a cool piece, isn't it? And the last movement would how does it go? I forgot. Shit! There's also something I remember, but sorry. But slow and close to the frog. That's my advice. Hubert, do you think there's still some kind of dogmata even in modern cello playing something we should get rid of? Absolutely. I mean, whatever you call dogmata, I would call bad habits or bad tradition. One of the things we must get rid of is the extensive use of the harmonics. I mean, people who follow me more closely, they know that I hate. No, I don't hate. I despise harmonics. No, I don't despise them either. I just try to limit them to a minimum because they destroy the line. The line is... That doesn't mean that you cannot play a harmonic once in a while. But I wouldn't go each time. Then maybe every other one or something. But keep it fresh and don't be lazy. It's a laziness to play the real note. I mean, it's dangerous to there's a reason why people do it, because it's a cheap note. It's for free. It will most probably be in tune and have enough good enough sound. But if it's in a line, I mean, there's this beautiful how does it go? No, that's the wrong key, is it? Yeah, sorry. For example, not good. If I choose to play the open string, then I must not vibrate too much before. And Rostropovich plays that so perfectly, this whole second theme, until he comes here. Maybe I have a strange taste or a bad taste, but for me, especially if we think of the cello as a voice, yeah, we don't have to vibrate necessarily. But not a completely different color. The worst if it's a gliss in there. Ooh, I don't like this. This sounds so cheesy and cheap. I'm sorry. I'm too prude for that. Or where people do that as well. It's even sometimes really not helpful. If you play the harmonic and you don't care, sometimes you lose the legato and you lose the connection to the next note. So that's one of my, it's not a dogmata I would say, but it's something people use a lot. And I don't think it's such a good idea. Is there any other dogmata you can think of? No. Otherwise, I think some people play Bach without vibrato. Some people play Bach with vibrato. I think it's not about on and off. It's about how we use it. But that's not a dogma. That's just common sense. We should have an idea how Bach might have heard it. We cannot replicate what he heard, but we should have an idea of the aesthetics back then, and we should bring it to our time, obviously. So just turning the vibrato off and play everything on the fingerboard, that is no solution. That, for me, is an F. Fail. They used sound in Bach's time, so it was not like... It was not all ghost songs, so you could... So that could actually have quite a good contact into the string. I think there's more soul in it. So that's one of the, it's not a dogma again, it's a bad habit to go to play, especially Bach on the fingerboard, where I don't think it belongs. It gets much easier. You have less bow accidents, like little screeches and scratches. But for me, the soul is missing. There's this story I told a dozen of times when I recorded my first Bach suite ever, and I felt so musical and so well, and I listened back to it after I had played it once through, and it was so boring. And it was the fact that I had played it all. Was all this and I played dynamics, but it was all mezzo piano, mezzo forte, once a forte at most, but otherwise it was all kind of, and I hated what I heard. So I went back to the hotel. I listened to the only time I listened to 2-3 minutes of recording when recording my own stuff of Anna Bilsma, and I heard how much more he went into the sound. And he's one of the great Baroque cellists. Oh, back then, he's not alive anymore. So I took that as an inspiration and I practiced the whole thing just a bit closer to the bridge. So dogmas should be broken, for sure. I mean, obviously playing in tune and playing with good sound, and that's a nice dogma, but otherwise traditions are not there for any purpose, I think. Do I have any tips for Dvořák's second movement? The section that starts with B, C, C sharp, B. The thumb position, it's the second page. I'm having trouble with intonation. Section B. Also the well, you can practice these as double steps, for example, and then just, I mean, if you have problems with the thumb, watch my last thumb video on Patreon. The thumb has to be an active player. He cannot just be swimming along. He has to be quite defined and not just, okay, happened on the, here it's fine, but then you lose the contact. So it's it has to be a good anchor to your playing. And if the thumb is too weak and you feel uncomfortable, then this place is dangerous. And practice it slow. What I did was the original bowing by Dvořák, by the way. I think he's that is on one bow. And then he goes back and forth. Which he writes quite clearly in his beautiful handwriting. So I don't think it was laziness. I think he wanted a bit more variety to the whole thing. But you're right, it is a difficult passage. Not definitely worth practicing note by note and do the tricks with stopping the bow and how I practice intonation. You go like this, the whole thing. And then it will be in tune at some point, I hope. Sorry, now I missed something. Yes, in the last movement, end of measure 71. Oops. But that is from Vaughan, but I forgot what the question was. 1 second, I look. Cello Sonata, Ravel. Ah, yeah, okay, well, I don't have the music here. 71, I don't know. Yeah, there is something. Oh yeah, so it's something like this, no? Something like this. There's something quick, yeah. So yeah, have the pizzicato. Ah yeah, that's yeah. You can invent yourself some exercises. And again, if you haven't done so yet, banana bow is always helpful. That you can get the string quickly. That you don't need to park the bow on the string before hitting it. Also up bow. Okay, that's it. Another one. Hello, I'm using these earplugs. The dog of a friend of mine just ate this one, and today the substitute came, so I have these earplugs, and they're really wonderful. But when after the dog ate them, I was just using the normal brutal ones, those 33 decibel killers, which if you don't just go on stage and put them in, practice with it. It's wonderful. I mean, there's a long video on Patreon why I do it, but it's helpful on many different levels. Vibrato has always seemed dogmatic to me. It's not my voice. I'm not a fat lady who sings opera. Can I ditch it? Well, you don't have to be a fat lady to sing opera, but to ditch the vibrato, I think the vibrato, it's actually quite difficult to sing without vibrating. And it's not about... But to play the... So the vibrato should not be an active thing all the time. But if you play without vibrato, that's a statement. And especially in romantic repertoire, we need vibrato. The vibrato is a very important, for me at least, part of a person's voice. A singer who sings with non-vibrato, yeah, you can do that. I don't know, what could one do? But you see, I vibrated there. But between that and... Okay, the people played slower. There's a big difference. So you can also go like... Bad fingering. So there's no fat lady singing. It's the misunderstood singing of some people. They think, oh, I'm singing and I'm singing Italian opera, but please sing the good Italian opera and not, I mean, the good singers and not the 99% singers nowadays who just yodel their way through a Verdi, which I hate. There has to be, I mean, if you listen to old recordings, they are much more disciplined in the use of vibrato. And nowadays, if you hear 4 people sing in whatever Rigoletto or Falstaff, you don't understand the harmonies anymore because everybody has an amplitude like that. And sometimes we can use a higher amplitude, but that should be well watched. If it's permanently too big, it's for me it's a weakness. I sometimes vibrate too big, but then I'm not happy. That's not my default vibrato. That's more when I'm getting tired or nervous or something. But yeah, don't ditch it. Rather work on it. Make it more interesting. Make it more versatile. You can have many different colors. It gives you a lot of emotional range as well. But if you choose to play without vibrato, be my guest. Maybe tell me before, then if it's a romantic piece, I probably wouldn't want to come. But if you play Bach without vibrato, or Beethoven or Haydn, yeah, it's hard. It's much harder, obviously. The vibrato helps us a lot with transporting some emotions and also covering up some intonation insecurities. Last question. I mean, specific customs made for musicians with what kind of filter, cutting how much dB. So this is now, I think 25. I have the 25 dB. That's custom made. They cost like 160 euros. I mean, one is 75 or something. And the filter in it is 25, but you can also use 15. But I use 25. It gives me more abilities on stage, I think. I have to bring my son to bed. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the great questions. Hope to see you next time. Oh no, there's another one. Sorry. I do this. Erstens das Crazy Scale, nur 8 Takte. Which is this Crazy Scale? For the question, it's consider number 1. Ende Satz. Crazy Scale. Nur 8. Crazy Scale. There's a Crazy Scale in the first Ende Satz. Crazy. Oh! Well, there's a video. How does That's how I play it. So the slow would be shit. How does it go? Oh shit. No, I cannot do it out of the. But sorry, I practice it in slow tempo when I play the piece. But if I play it now, I can play it fast. But if I slow down, then my brain is not good enough. But I play it on 2 strings, not 4, which gives you a much better chance to actually play the accents. And on Patreon there is a video of me playing it, or I even posted it on Instagram, I think, to bring those accents that you really hear them and not just some crazy noise. Hello Jenny. I'm wondering if you can recommend any Baroque repertoire other than Bach that you enjoy performing. Thanks so much. Sorry, I'm not a Baroque person. I've never enjoyed Baroque music in my entire life. So the Bach suites is the only thing I'm playing. Even though I'm sure there are loads of wonderful pieces, and it's just not where I'm at home. I mean, obviously every cellist has to play Bach, and now I try to make it my home, but still I know other people are more at home there, and I'm not arguing that. So no, I'm not the Baroque knowledgeable person, and probably I will never. I'm turning 54 next week, so I think it's too late. It lost me. I'm a deeply romantic soul. Even modern or Baroque, I could live just with playing romantic stuff. But as you know, as a modern cellist, I feel the responsibility to also advance the modern repertoire. I mean, Rostropovich would be a great example there to create new pieces. And while they are wonderful Baroque pieces, I'm not the right person to ask. Sorry. So now, there's one last thing. No, that's it. Thanks, Jenny. Well, my devotion to contemporary music is not that great. I played in my life 4 or 5 modern pieces, modern contemporary cello concertos, but I try to play them again and again and again so that I understand them, that I can make them understood, that I can maybe establish them into the repertoire. That's my goal. I don't need to play as much contemporary repertoire as possible, because again, it doesn't speak to me necessarily as much as the romantic music. Thanks for watching. Have a lovely Sunday evening, and see you next month. Bye.